Chapter 7. Wholenesses and Units. Consciousness and consciousness abilities and forms of intelligences. Collective and individual consciousness. When we speak about a unit, then we speak about a consciousness with a single system, you or me, who have an own personal system with our thoughts, our physical condition, our forms of intelligences, our dynamic intuition and organic instincts, our behavior and our whole consciousness system, energetic as well as physical, the patterns of our entire blueprints which we create, have, and contribute with to other systems. Each consciousness or unit has its own free will when they work from inside and with themselves, their own system. This is when we speak about the collective consciousness, many systems or units and consciousnesses in interaction or integrated with each other. Here we speak about us as a unit in the various systems. Old family, new family, interconnected family, business system, political system, cultural system, faith system, and the like, which forms the common consciousness consisting of thoughts, physical conditions, forms of intelligences, dynamic intuitions and organic instincts, behavior, and entire consciousness systems, both energetic and physical. All the patterns of its blueprints which we create, have, and contribute with to other systems. Collective consciousness and collective systems have their individual free will, as their consciousness and system consist of systems and purposes from many systems. A unit loses its free will in its interaction in a unit. Collective consciousness is decided by the common specific consciousness, which in consensus created a common understanding and thought form they all work from. Just like a motorist in the traffic, who would like to drive at a speed of 150 kilometers an hour, more than the law allows, or the taxpayer who does not agree with how much tax he should pay, but where both parties nevertheless obey out of consideration for what they are part of, social and tax laws. This means that there are quite a few units which navigate, interact, or act in the common collective consciousness, agreeing to disagree. They renounce their free will at the collective level in order to be part of the collective consciousness they were born in, so that the wholeness can be part of and function with the greatest balance. Otherwise, they are forced to do so, until they are mature and more independent as to finding other solutions and possibilities of a new collective consciousness they can become part of, and which is more compatible with their energy or consciousness. This could be by moving to another country with the purpose of paying less tax, with the consequences this entails. Therefore, the equal thought form we, for instance, call democracy, where each unit must have its right to speak its mind and what it thinks, is essential to every collective system, if it is to maintain its natural balance. However, now we must first define and understand ourselves as units or consciousnesses, before we make too large a dough which we cannot handle, understand, or comprehend. We must first update and philosophize about our perception ability as a unit or consciousness. Introduction to Meta-Duality Theory. Monologue, sustained consciousness ability. Dialogue, combined consciousness ability. A sustained consciousness. A consciousness which is capable of comprehending the whole of itself with its combined intelligence. a consciousness developing its abilities to use its combined consciousness, working with and based on the operational and the emotional part of its own system, is a conscious person who needs not judge others in order to be present and to survive. One's existence is not dependent on other people's thought forms. Only the interaction and integration with other thought forms are dependent on other people's thought forms. This requires an understanding of the sustained consciousness ability we possess, meaning the sustainable and sustained thought form which a consciousness has by its past tense, but which has sorted out anything that is out of date and not usable. A person who uses all of themselves in a balance and contributes positively to their and others' existence. A sustained consciousness ability has a function of sorting out the inappropriate thought forms and integrating the sustainable and sustained part in its consciousness. By this, we get tools for developing our consciousness in the various change processes, requiring combined consciousness abilities. All of our abilities, or the abilities and capacity of the whole system. Combined consciousness ability has a function of helping us handle the constant external challenges we were born with, to integrate what is appropriate for us and sort out what is inappropriate for us. For example, when we use the whole of us, our emotional intelligence EQ, combined with our operational intelligence and our logical thinking IQ. Our combined consciousness ability helps us open up for handling and developing all our inborn abilities, which are needed for our survival in balance and quality, in step with the laws of nature, which we are born in and with, as integration ability, innovation ability, divergent ability, wholeness ability, coincidence ability, and capacity ability. These hypotheses substantiate the meta-duality theory, which again substantiates the law of consciousness, consisting of the two-part laws mentioned above. Energy is also a tool to form and understand ability of the state or condition of a circumstance, knowledge. Female-male management, emotional and operational management, and combined intelligence. The feminine and masculine intelligence consciousness. Our combined consciousness works from and with our inborn compass built on our dynamic intuition and organic instincts, navigating from two different energy sources integrated into our physical body, the feminine and the masculine inner power, two different energy systems which create the wholeness inside us humans. It is our management system, our personal management system. Female, male, fe as in feminine, male as in masculine, like the right and the left side of the brain working together in an integration and intuitive steering mechanism. Our consciousness is like a transformer station, having its own compass, which formats, reformats, and optimizes the various energies coming into and out of its base. This transformer station is made from an algorithm, which, again, is built from the patterns of our consciousness, female-male management system, irrespective of gender identity. The more we develop our consciousness, the more we optimize this transformation center and its algorithm, which transforms the resources more balanced and efficiently with bigger optimization capacity, with both input and output. More developed emotional and logical abilities, information in and actions out of an updated and more developed compass. A magic management system based on all our abilities in interaction with each other. Our consciousness has its own language to communicate with our transformation center, sending out information to our inner compass so we can then navigate with what the compass shows us. If we should move towards being a more conscious human, then we need to learn the language of our consciousness so that we can more consciously navigate with our inner compass. When the fire of water starts burning without interfering with water, or vice versa, is the time when female-male start interacting with each other, leading to balanced consequences. The language of our consciousness is what I call a mono-dialogue. Mono, sustained consciousness, dialogue, a combined consciousness, with mono being an organic instinct and a dialogue being a dynamic intuition. Any consciousness has an energetic and genetic pattern, a way to think, feel, act, react, understand, perceive, handle, develop, etc. A thought form with its own special DNA, a blueprint, as a unique pattern which no other consciousness has, just like your physical fingerprint. Our thoughts and feelings are a product of each other. They are connected in an interaction with each other. What we perceive and the way we handle all of our thoughts and emotions, dynamic intuition and organic instinct, combined consciousness, all of these have a great influence on our physically intelligent body, mind, and the condition of our inner being in the present tense and future tense, all of which has its cause from the past tense, the sustained consciousness. Consciousness has its own algorithm based on sustained and combined consciousness, our organic instinct and dynamic intuition, which calculates all energetic conditions, such as the logical and emotional input, output, cause and effect, and thereby their integration with the outside world in the form of possibilities and potentials. As the intelligent algorithm calculates, activates, integrates, and transforms all logical thinking and all abilities of the emotional feeling of our mind into a new consciousness condition, then we develop towards a wholeness as an inner being, a consciousness. We learn to be conscious as human beings, to use our entire capacity and all our abilities to see, feel emotionally, and think logically in an interaction, as they are integrated in us as an individual person and as a consciousness in a more balanced way. A sustainable energy quality depends on its state of consciousness, the blueprint. Mono-dialogue. Mono is sustained consciousness, which is an organic instinct. Dialogue is combined consciousness, a dynamic intuition. It is the language based on the communication in ourselves and then with each other that brings experiences from the past tense and in interaction with all of our abilities in the present tense. The language which is curious and seeks ways and solutions to understand and comprehend and perceive the outer world so that we can develop our inner self with all the abilities our combined intelligence contributes with and which are going to develop our consciousness. The language of our consciousness in the form of mono-dialogue will always communicate through a language which awakens our curious intelligence form that seeks solutions, answers, and knowledge, and which activates the whole of us towards new and greater horizons. A conscious human being who does not judge but evaluates. A mature human being or consciousness being curious and seeking answers and solutions to move forward on its development path. Condemnation and thought forms navigating by one right and wrong thought form lock us into an outdated thought form which must be sorted out, as this kind of energy isn't likely to give us the resource we need for the movement we shall have for the appropriate direction. It is a stagnated energy which must be phased out, as our system or the collective system is unable to use it appropriately anymore, because this thought form ends up blocking the language of our consciousness, thereby putting our navigation out of order. We lose our ability to see, feel, and evaluate consciously, and thus we start controlling to be able to navigate. We settle on our broad autopilot to be able to navigate in crisis mode. But the challenge is that our development and maturation process stalls when our autopilot takes over, and then we shall be using only our negative ego, which should preferably be phased out. It contributes with various inappropriate behavioral errors, which only a child can practice. How we understand right or wrong depends on our individual need for comprehending and understanding the state of the circumstances. The positive and negative ego arise when we are adults. The negative ego arises when we, as adults, start using our inborn childhood's ego, which we need to be able to survive and develop in step with our age and maturity. We shut down parts of our entire navigation system, and thereby it puts us in survival mode. In this condition, we stop all development, and it is only about finding solutions for survival. We stop sorting through learned thought forms like morals, ethics, and what is appropriate or inappropriate, as we must only survive, just like an infant. In that condition, we also shut down anything called empathy and understanding abilities, which may be disruptive elements for our dormancy system that doesn't have too many resources and energy available. Our survival mode also pauses the unnecessary energy-demanding abilities. Any other survival abilities needed in our everyday life to develop ourselves, mentioned above, are paused to be able to navigate with least possible resources, as every ability requires energy to work as intended. Thus, we have entered a phase-out condition. A negative ego has the opposite effect on adults that it does on a child. Again, we meet the dualities. Each one of them has its pole and effect in its condition. To be an adult is the opposite condition from being an infant, and thus the childhood's ego and negative ego have an opposite function. We must always remember that negative is no better or worse than positive, as we also need minus in our survival process. Everything is situational. In the infant's condition, it is, however, not called a negative ego, but a survival ego to the helpless infant, who can develop only through recognitions like, see me, praise me, look, I'm crawling, look at what I can do, give me love as I am to develop my emotional intellect, give me attention and recognize me so I can develop my operational intellect. If I fall and hit myself, then I cry, you must help me up and comfort me, etc. Children judge each other. They shut each other out of play to punish others when something or a rejection does not give them any confirmation. and they do not get their will bound to the ego they were born with to survive until they become more conscious, bring their abilities to live and develop them currently over the years. They learn to compromise, to not criticize each other for judging others, because they do not understand the aliens they have not yet met or learned to handle. They learn to not exclude each other, so that they can meet in a compromise in the game with others. They learn how to find new solutions and to be creative. They learn to create wholenesses, to be able to feel success experiences, etc. But do we ever stop being children? It is the same maturation process we go through our whole life. Also, when we get older and need to go back to the phase-out mode and become like little children again. First, we are helpless and start a life of developing, and then we must phase out and become helpless before we die. Is it not fantastic how dualities are always and all the time in play? So, negative ego is when fully grown, we make use of the old ego, which was appropriate only to the infant or young children. It will put us and our development in dormancy in order to survive again. By this, all new taught abilities through life are going to be turned off and closed. If, being adults, we stay too long in the condition which is not part of our natural cycle, the body starts to stall, go back, phase out, and become obsolete in stress, anxiety, and depression, which may put the development of our abilities at a standstill or even phase them out. We shall react, act, and handle the outer world in an immature way or inappropriately. Not because we wish to, but because the body tries to take care of us. We simply cannot. Our abilities are shut down because the body puts us in a dormancy condition to regenerate in order that we can have time to look at our system failures. In this case, we might use the negative ego, striving to achieve more than we have the capacity to do, and thereby expose ourselves to stress, etc. Or it may be a bad relationship or work environment. No matter what, we still claim that our positive ego is self-love and helps us expose ourselves only to such things that give us good energy. The negative ego is when we do not take care of ourselves, appreciate or cost other inappropriate energy or less good feelings. The positive ego is self-love, which comprehends and develops us with all our abilities and the errors which again create even bigger self-love. We do not reject, we do not exclude, we do not shut down our compass in order not to overreact or be in a survival condition, as we would like to find a solution and give ourselves what we need and what our body cries out for. Other people's confirmation is not going to heal our insides or our body. Only our own body system can do this. Then we are going to meet in equally with others and confirm each other, and not where we are dependent on other people's confirmations. The brain twister. Our instincts are the tools which develop our intuitions. It is a mature and adult way to grow the ego, a consciously good ego, when we are no longer children and our recognition of our existence being competences and values are not dependent on the acknowledgement from the outside world, but only our own acknowledgement of being an independent individual who can see, feel, act, and perceive. We can only estimate what we need. The outside world and our families cannot. If we do not mature and develop our ego, into a positive ego as adults, then other people will still be the owner or the ones who decide and raise us as a child. Exactly like when we were children, and our parents and the school teacher decided, raised and told us about a truth which was built on their reality, their life experiences and beliefs. As adults, we should not be dependent on others, only ourselves, and should use our full intelligence abilities and develop as we wish to. A negative ego is only appropriate to adults, as it can help to phase out us and our abilities, the way we handle the outside world and ourselves like little children. A negative ego cannot handle criticism and lacks self-recognition and thus the ability to self-reflect. It does not see the positive in the criticism and the development possibilities it also has. Remember that everything has an opposite pole. We are likely to end up becoming the little child who smashes the entire Lego castle if we do not get our way or confirmation or receive criticism. The child would smash the entire castle and leave the play. Rejection, punishment, and thereby phasing out. When we as adults are too result-oriented, and our happiness is dependent on the results we achieve, then we shall end up in a dead end we cannot navigate out of, because we have shut down ourselves and navigate only from our negative ego. Our body and our consciousness are then shouting to us in a language of anxiety, stress, or simply lacking capacity of being. Then we shall shut down the compass of our emotional intellect, being half of our wholeness compass, half humans, half navigation input, half resources, and half solutions, where output turns into errors, error message from our internal system. If the above is our reaction for survival, because we cannot handle that a circumstance suddenly occurs, what is it then we should learn, investigate, be curious about, to be able to develop? Maybe the coincidence is caused by other people's effect as a consequence? How can we handle the coincidences we had not counted on, do not want, and would rather reject, and which knock us so much off balance? A consciousness needs its curiosity, organic instincts, to learn to create understanding and to develop its abilities, which again develop the various forms of intelligences. Needs to feel the emotions that confirm the effect of the understanding and the result which makes more sense. One thing's for sure, other people's circumstances and conditions will at any time have an effect for us, our causes, and thereby effect, and vice versa. This means that coincidences exist and do not exist. Yes, because other people act on their free will and in step with their circumstances and conditions, their cause and effect. Then the system we are integrated in may encounter situations or incidents which have nothing to do with us. It is not our cause and effect, but because we are integrated in the system, then it may seem a coincidence to us as an effect, as the consequence of cause and effect, based on their reaction, is not part of our plan. This is not a coincidence to the unit causing this coincidence, but only to us, who had not included it in our life or have not been the cause. A coincidence caused by the collective consciousness is not a coincidence to itself, only to us, being the opposite unit. The brain twister. Comprehending and understand ability depends on your judgment of the condition as you see it, or if you search for possible abilities to comprehend the knowledge which the condition presents and which you don't have integrated in you yet. Collective consciousness. Here, we talk about the collective consciousness and not an individual consciousness. The collective consciousness is a result, an effect of the causes of several units or observers who, with their cause and effect, as well as consequences of these, interact and integrate in each other, forming a system consisting of a specific consciousness form, understandabilities. However, this system, or the collective consciousness, is the abilities or consciousness has many other forms of approaches to understanding. We always meet in agreement, and whether this is a nice time over food, concrete intellectual talk, or in the intellect of the emotions does not matter. However, we choose one of our abilities being the strongest, find a collective consciousness we can fit into, and become part of this system. There is no right or wrong, only the line in between. After all, we can go on and on, but one thing is for sure. We cannot reject the opposite pole, as we would then have rejected part of ourselves, as our cornerstone is built on the dualities. Your truth is not my truth, and this is a very intellectual answer to minus will never be plus. Their functions will never be the same, and thus neither their effects. They are, however, a necessity in our universe, upon which and from which everything is defined and based. Minus and plus in a magnet attract each other and meet in the contradictions. This is mathematics and physics. We judge something to be wrong or reject it as being part of us, which we cannot just remove unless we talk about a totalitarian phase-out where a system has rejected a wholeness which is not to be used anymore, a not sustainable part. Here, a development and a phase-out have taken place. So here we are talking about a thought form where there is agreement that a part is not usable anymore. And in common understanding, we are going to phase this part out. We are eliminating a cause and thus its effect, but it has to be replaced by a new cause with a new effect. This is just an energetic process, a thought form, faith or belief. Therefore, our thoughts become our reality. Our beliefs create our circumstances, and our faith creates our realities right here and now, not before or after, as everything is in motion and development, in constant change. Is that why we were born with big inner curiosity? Our survival tools that seek knowledge, solutions, and new ways of being strong and strengthening our system, organic as well as non-organic ones. It is all about how big a win is, not a choice between failure and win. You either win it all, or you win a little, and find what is needed to win more.